The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. This is a common observation that we see almost every day. The wealthy becoming wealthier and the poor becoming poorer is certainly a worrying trend. However, what's even more concerning is that this problem of wealth inequality keeps on growing, with no sign of improvement in sight. If you are watching this video, it probably means that either you or someone you know is struggling financially. It also probably means that you've wondered why things have to be this way. After all, isn't there enough wealth to go around? Why do some people struggle while others thrive? If you're watching this, it also means that you care about fixing things. There's no point in being angry or upset. We need to find solutions so that everyone can have an opportunity to succeed without having to sacrifice anything in return. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video. Let's look at the definition of poor. Poor is defined as being without the financial resources required to maintain a minimum standard of living. In other words, being poor means that you do not have enough money to pay for the things that you need and want in life. It has nothing to do with making less money than someone else or not working hard enough. Being poor just means that you lack financial resources. But why do people lack financial resources? It's because they don't have enough money in the first place. If you don't have enough money, you will always lack financial resources. This is why most people are poor. It's not because they are lacking in any specific skill or lacking motivation, it's because they don't have enough money to begin with. Another reason why most people are poor is that there's a lot of institutional evil out there. Institutional evil is the use of government and corporate power to enrich a select few at the cost of everyone else. For example, taxation. Taxes are supposed to be used for building and maintaining vital infrastructure, improving the quality of public services, and providing for the less fortunate. However, that's not what taxes are being used for right now. Instead, they are being used for enriching the rich and powerful. From the military-industrial complex to Wall Street, corruption and greed are everywhere. This is why so many people struggle financially while others thrive. A select few are taking advantage of government and corporate power to rig the system in their favor. This is why things are the way they are. It's not because of any individual's choice or effort, it's because of institutional evil. Another reason why most people are poor is that the truth about wealth is not very well known. The truth about wealth is that wealth is not something that you earn, it's something that you keep. In other words, wealth is what you have in your possession that you can use or exchange for goods or services. Most people operate under the false assumption that wealth is something that you earn. However, in reality, you don't really earn wealth, you make money. It doesn't matter if you spend your entire life working hard, if you don't invest your disposable income, you won't ever have wealth. You don't earn wealth, you make money and then you invest it. This is why some people have millions of dollars in assets while others are struggling to make ends meet. It all comes down to the way each person makes and invests their money. Another reason why most people are poor is that the rich stay rich because they inherited their wealth. In other words, the rich are getting richer because the poor are getting poorer. The rich have been getting richer for decades, but not because they are working harder than the rest of us. Rather, it's because they have rigged the system in their favor by way of generational wealth. Another reason why most people are poor is that wealth equals power. In other words, the more money you have, the more power you have. If you want to understand why the rich keep getting richer while the poor keep getting poorer, you need to understand this concept. Without money, you will never have influence, and without influence, you will never gain power. Once you have the power, you can enact it how you please. Unfortunately, the majority of the time people use it to protect themselves instead of their fellow humans. Although being a millionaire seems like a dream, it's not always what it seems. People think that having a high income means that they will be happy because they will have financial security. However, this is not always the case. Having a high income does not guarantee happiness. There are plenty of millionaires that are not happy. Moreover, there are plenty of people who are happy with a modest lifestyle but don't have any money. True wealth comes in all different shapes, and having a loving family and a healthy body is just enough to feel rich. In conclusion, most people are poor because of institutional evil. The truth about wealth is not very well known. The rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. But money doesn't equate to happiness, so if we want to address this growing problem of wealth inequality, we need to acknowledge that the system needs to change. More importantly, we need to acknowledge that health is wealth, and just because people are earning a low income doesn't mean they don't work hard enough, it's just because they don't have enough money to begin with. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more.